What is up, everybody? Welcome back to MLB Swing for the Fences. Happy Sunday morning here on April 6th. I'm Draft Sheet, of course, joined today by Third and Schlong, talking today's, at least for now, 11-game MLB slate. Bryce, you're back from a long flight. I know you had the DK hockey final this weekend. How'd that go? How you doing on this Sunday morning, Bryce?
Better than expected. We went out for a couple drinks after the final. It was fun. Didn't do great at the final because you needed Pasternak from Boston, who was like a massive dog, and like only 3 people played him, and they finished top 3.
Yeah,
because he had like a hat trick and an assist. It was just kind of, it is what it is. I was never playing that, so like, it almost feels better to lose when it's like, stuff that I would never play in a 40-man contest. I would play that in like, I don't know, 1,000-person contest.
Sure.
But not 40. So it is what it is. I had a good baseball day yesterday, so hopefully keep that rolling here now.
Yeah, it is always, it's never fun to lose. We all would prefer to win every slate, win all the money. That would be fun, but not the reality of DFS or gambling or anything like that. And yeah, I agree with you, Bryce. When you were never going to get there, right? When it wasn't even a consideration, it's a little less painful because you're just that's just
it's just like no matter what iteration of teams I was looking at, line combos, like maybe it would have made me a little more money, but
Sure.
I was just dead to win like a significant sum. So
yeah,
it is what it is.
Makes sense. That's enough hockey talk for Sunday morning. We do have a big 11-game slate, like I mentioned. All games scheduled to go off within an hour. So fast and furious action on Sunday morning, or at least we hope so, Bryce. Because this is honestly a pretty bizarre, I think, 11-game slate where it's pretty much cold everywhere. We've got weather issues. By far the best pitching value on the slate is in Atlanta, and looks like that game might get rained out. And, despite, frankly, quite a few mediocre pitchers on the mound, there's not really many spots that look great for hitting either. So I'll be honest, digging into the slate this morning, I had a little bit of trouble just finding hitters that I'm excited to play. And, man, even the pitchers, I think you can poke holes in. So it's weird not to like either side, probably. Frankly, not a great sign for my profitability on the slate. But, hey, we got an hour and a half here before lock starts. We'll talk through all the games and, hopefully come up with some winners by the time this show concludes. Obviously, we've got everything you guys need over at Run Pure Sports, including handedness charts, pitching projections for hitters, core plays, my write-ups up there Monday through Friday, not this morning, doing the show instead, but all that good stuff over at Run Pure Sports. And Masters coming up this week. We've got MMA, NBA playoffs finally here, Bryce. Long NBA season. Looking forward to that. So everything you need DFS-wise, sports betting-wise over at runpuresports.com. Use promo code RPS15 if you want to join us. With that, Bryce, let's jump into these games. We'll go by the DraftKings order of games, and it does start us off in Atlanta for a game that I think
game just got postponed. We need to skip it.
All right.
We kind of figured that. We were talking before the show about it getting postponed.
Yeah, Miami and Atlanta off the slate. Grant Holmes was, I think, by far the best pitching option point per dollar wise on the slate. No longer in play, and our 11-game slate becomes 10. Enough with Miami, Atlanta. Don't need to spend any more time there. We'll move to Washington, D.C. for the Nationals and the Arizona Diamondbacks. Ace Corbin Burns going for Arizona was okay in his first start against the Yankees. And by the way, Big T, if you're watching, we do finally have game logs up on DraftKings. So watch out, DraftKings players. Big T's got his game logs. He's going to do some damage now that he's got the information needed to pick the winners. Burns 4 1/3 innings in that one, 2 earned runs, did strike out 8, which was good to see from Burns, and also did get up to 98 pitches. Not all pitchers are completely fully stretched out at this point of the year. Looks like Burns should be good to go for 100-plus pitches in this one, assuming things go well for him, which they probably will against the Nationals' decent lineup here. I do like this Nationals lineup in general against right-handed pitching, but not so much today against Corbin Burns, who I do think will pitch well in this one. The Nationals will go behind Trevor Williams. Gave up 10 hits in that first start against Toronto, but did, dance through raindrops a little bit, only giving up 3 earned runs, 3 strikeouts. Kind of a typical Trevor Williams start. Wasn't great fantasy-wise, just 5.3 fantasy points. But this game, like essentially all the others, Bryce, is pretty, substandard for hitting weather. They're going to be in the mid-50s with pretty strong winds blowing in. So our friends over at Ballpark Pal do have this rated along with, I think, every game outside of Coors Field as kind of a negative hitting environment, positive pitching environment, whichever way you want to spin it. But yeah, I'll throw it over to you. Diamondbacks, Nationals. What do you see in here? First game on the slate now that the Braves and Marlins are off.
I've been on the Diamondbacks pretty much this whole series. Trevor Williams is definitely a pitcher I'd like to attack. It's just, you said with the weather, and this is going to be a common theme throughout the show, it's just kind of shit. It's cold, winds blowing in pretty much everywhere. I don't really want anything to do with the Nationals against Burnes here. I think Burnes is one of the better pitching options in the slate. I would rate him probably just behind Glasnow, personally. So, if I was playing 3 teams, he'd definitely be on 1, maybe 2. I'll probably have around, I haven't built yet. I'm going to be building during this show, probably around like 30 to 40% on him. I think he's a really solid option today. Trevor Williams, I'm not playing. I don't play him. Arizona bats, I think they're okay here. I've been playing them, as I said, this whole series, but, with the weather and whatnot, I don't think it's the best spot. You still get some cheap hitters here. Pavin Smith is like a lock to be pinch hit for, and I don't think anyone else is. But yeah, I think Carroll's a decent spend. I think Perdomo is going to be like a good value on the slate. I would probably prefer Arizona as like 3-mans as opposed to a full 5-man here, just with the weather. If you do want to attack Burnes, he does give up a decent amount of stolen bases. Mm-hmm. So you can go with like the Mega Mind National stack. Like, I'm not like excluding them from my pool or anything, even though I do like Burnes here. But I doubt they make any of my, main teams here.
Yeah, I think that all makes sense. And I'm with you on the Diamondbacks, and talking about it as the first game on the slate. The D-backs look not that appealing given the unfavorable hitting conditions, but I'll just tell the viewers, we're going to go through every game and it's going to be a similar story where the hitting conditions aren't any good. So, it's one of those where maybe you talk about all 10 games and you circle back and you're like, hey, these D-backs maybe are a little bit more appealing than I anticipated after talking through the games. I think we could see something like that with the D-backs. We know the upside that they have. So I do think there's still a pretty good play here against Trevor Williams. And I've mentioned this on a lot of shows, but the Nationals have maybe the worst bullpen in all of baseball. Collective ERA, they were pretty good, result-wise yesterday. Collective ERA, though, over 7 for the Nationals here after a week and a half of baseball, and more walks than strikeouts, which is really, really rough scene for the Nationals bullpen. So, you throw in Trevor Williams, who is mediocre at best, bad bullpen behind him, and I'll deal with a little bit of, wind blowing in DC and get to some of these D-back stacks, playing my normal 3 lineups on DraftKings. I think at least one of them will be for sure a D-backs mini. Could go full stack here if you wanted. And then I'm not going to go to the national stacks. I do think, though, you mentioned it, Bryce, CJ Abrams leading off, showing power already this spring. He's got speed as well against Burnes, who you can run on. You get leverage, right? We're pretty sure people are going to play Burnes. I think CJ Abrams as a one-off makes a lot of sense. Don't need to go full crazy with the Nationals, but I do think Abrams. And listen, there's not that many places to spend, right? So you can afford an expensive one-off like Abrams on the slate if you do want to go that direction. I think you'll probably end up on one of my 3 teams, Mr. Abrams, but I'll probably leave it at that for the Nationals going up against one of the better pitchers in baseball in Mr. Corbin Burnes. Let's get to marquee game here, Dodgers and Phillies. essentially the same weather in Philly, including the wind direction that we have in Nationals Park. Again, mid 50s, low to mid 50s, and pretty strong winds blowing in from center field. This does play as a hitter's park in general, but it won't today. It'll be pitcher friendly. And we do have two good pitchers going on the mound here. Tyler Glasnow going for the Dodgers. 8 strikeouts against the Braves in his first start of the year, 0 earned runs, 79 pitches in that one, getting through 5. We've talked about this a lot with the Dodgers pitchers. Probably going to be a theme with them. 5 innings, 6 innings. Sasaki even goes less than that. He pulled him after 4, even though he was pitching okay yesterday. So you can't expect Glasnow to go deep into this game. It's just not what the Dodgers are going to do. But the strikeouts should be there while he's in the game through 5 or maybe 6 innings if he's efficient. Yes, a dangerous lineup from the Phillies, but there are still strikeouts to be had. I do think Glasnow has to be in consideration. And then Christopher Sanchez. I wish he had a better matchup today. This is one of the pitchers who I think is going to be in for. He was good last year, but I think he's going to be in for a big, big breakout season. Mr. Sanchez was good against Colorado, 7 strikeouts over 5 1/3, 93 pitches in that one. I think there's bigger games even than that coming for Sanchez, but maybe not today, right? Against the Dodgers team, obviously one of the better lineups in baseball. No Freddie Freeman, which does help Sanchez a little bit. And I'm kind of on the fence on what to do here with Sanchez, Bryce, because I don't think people are going to play him. I don't think people are aware of just how much he's improved over last year. The strikeouts are going to be up for Sanchez almost certainly this year compared to last year. So kind of torn on, do I maybe know something that other people don't hear versus do I really want to go up against the Dodgers, especially with no price discount at 9,100. So curious where you ended up, Bryce, on Phillies and Dodgers second game on the slate here.
I'm almost always on these teams hitting wise, but today I think it's pitchers. We'll start with Glasnow. His outs prop kind of surprised me. 17.5 juiced slight over. So, if Glasnow throws 6 innings here, he's going to rack up some Ks. He's my top pitching option of the day. I'm likely going to be around 50% on him across the board, and I would be playing him in cash personally. It's cold, wind's blowing in. Both these lineups are dangerous, but they also have strikeouts in them. So, I think the strikeout upside on both of these guys is good. Moving over to Sanchez, I think he's a great tournament play. I don't normally say that against the Dodgers, but his velocity's up a good amount this year, and he does have good stuff. He's not cheap. It's against the Dodgers. I don't think anyone's gonna be playing him. We have him projected at 8% ownership. I'm gonna be probably low 20s, so he's gonna be a significant buy for me at pitcher, I assume. If you're looking for hitters in this game, you can obviously play one-offs. I would prefer to play you can run on Glasnow, so like a Trey Turner type of dude from Philly, and then obviously like these Dodgers that have like upside, or obviously like Ohtani. Teoscar has a decent price at 4.7 against a lefty. But I would kind of look like Ohtani, lefty. Like no one will play that today. If you're looking for a one-off, or Teoscar would be my preferred one, price adjusted. But on pitching here in general.
That makes sense. And I'll probably end up rolling with Sanchez on one of my 3. He is my Cy Young NL pick. You can still get that. I bet the future yesterday. FanDuel had it 25-1. He's already down to 16-1 on DK Partner DraftKings Sportsbook. I don't know if that FanDuel line has moved yet, but it'll move after this start if he shuts down the Dodgers, which I think he's got a good chance to do. So look for Sanchez to pitch well. I probably will end up rolling out here. We've got him projected at what? Captain's got him at 5% ownership. Sabres got him, I think even low, or no, they've got him around 8%, which sounds right. Maybe 5 to 10% on Sanchez. I'll be surprised if he comes in any higher than that. I'm sure a lot of people were playing Grant Holmes. Obviously can't do that anymore. So I'm looking at the pitchers mostly in this one. Obviously 2 dangerous offenses could go that way as well, but I do think Sanchez and Glasnow probably in for good outings. Glasnow, the safer of the 2, also will be, 4, 5, 6 times as owned as Sanchez as well. So just know that going in. Excited to see what Sanchez can do even against this Dodgers team today. Let's go to Pittsburgh and New York. As I mentioned, kind of a common theme. Pretty cold here in Pittsburgh. It's a pitcher's park anyway, and it's going to be, 40 degrees in Pittsburgh. So, yeah, it's going to be cold. Obviously, Aaron Judge can can hit a home run through a little bit of cold weather with the power that he brings. So I do think he remains, at least for my money, clearly the top projected hitter on this slate. Certainly can afford him with not that many great hitters to go to. He'll go up, as will the rest of the Yankees, against Andrew Heaney, throwing from the left side. Not a pitcher to fear. Just 2 strikeouts for Heaney in his first start against Miami over 5 innings. So not like he was pitching super well there. Will Warren will go for the Yankees. He was just okay in his opening start against the D-backs, but 5 innings, 4 strikeouts, 2 earned runs allowed against that dangerous Diamondbacks lineup is not bad for Will Warren, who did look pretty good. I think he's down at $6K. He is the cheapest pitcher on the board at DraftKings. What did he throw? 85 pitches in that first outing. He's got to be in play here, pitching in Pittsburgh against a lineup that, Reynolds and Cruz are good, but that's pretty much it, right, in terms of bats that you really fear from Pittsburgh. So I don't know if you need the savings, Bryce, but it does help a little bit, and I do think Will Warren's got to be in play here at $6K. I'm not touching Heaney at $6,700, and then it would be, of course, the Yankees bats led by Judge that I think are the top plays in this game hitting-wise. What about you, Schlong? What are you doing? Yankees and Pirates here.
Love the Yankees side of this game. They've been getting hammered in the betting markets, and I 100% agree with it. Heaney's velocity's down this year so far. I want nothing to do with him. These Yankees bats are dangerous in pretty much any stadium, any weather. I'm willing to take them. They've been running a decent amount this year too, which is obviously like a huge plus. Almost shipped with them yesterday. I think I finished third in the 5-5-5. I needed a Jason Dominguez big hit at the end of the game and was not able to get it. But it is what it is. I'm willing to go back to the well with the Yanks here. They are my favorite bats of the slate. Judge is obviously my top overall hitter on them, but it's a dangerous lineup all the way through. Totally fine stacking it however you want. But it will be my highest owned stack and 5-man for sure. Going to Will Warren for a second, I do think I have a pretty wide pitching pool today compared to what I normally have, just because I think there's like a lot of options to me after like Glasnow and Burns, and we'll get to some more of them. We already touched on Sanchez, but I prefer Warren to like a Kyle Hart. Those are like the 2 cheap pitchers that will be making my pool today. And I do like Warren some here. The Pirates, okay matchup. The total worries me a bit. It's the highest total on the board, but he's $6K. I'm expecting him to not have like a bad season. He's only projected 8%. So I'm likely going to be getting around 20 on him. And, I don't mind pairing him with like Yankees stacks too, just because he's cheap and he lets you fit the Yankees. So like with the sims that I run, Saber actually loves pairing your stack with a pitcher. So, I'm just naturally going to get a decent amount of those pairings. I don't think he's a cash play by any means, but he will definitely be a buy for me, a pitcher. Not going to have any Pirate stacks here. X them out. Not as X them out of stacks, not like overall hitters. They still have some high upside guys that can get into your lineups, but I like the Yankee side of this, and I think Judge will be the highest owned hitter, and probably for good reason.
Yeah. If Warren comes in anywhere close to our guy Captain's got him at 11% owned, Saber's got him at 8 to 9% owned. I don't think that's adjusted yet for the.
No, it's not. In like Grant Holmes, like he would be like one of the him and Hart would be like the direct pivots off of Holmes. like at that price point. So these guys will come in higher owned than we have projected now, just because they haven't updated for this game being postponed.
I'll put a guess on Will Warren and put him at 25% owned for this slate. So I think he's going to come in significantly higher than. I mean, that's what I'm doing, right? All those Holmes teams, you can just click them out and put in Warren, and you don't have to change anything else. 6,200 and 6K. I think that's what a lot of people will end up doing. Savings again, you don't need it, but I mean, I think Warren could easily contend with the top pitchers on the slate, or get within 5, 6, 7 points of it, enough to make the savings worth it. So I'm in on Will Warren. Again, I do expect, even at 20, 25% ownership, I have no problem playing Warren there. So I really do like him. Just the matchup and the price and what it gets you makes a lot of sense. And you mentioned Bryce, just we don't need to spend a lot of time on it, but the fact that Saber likes pairing your pitcher with your offense. I think the initial reaction is, oh, you get a better chance at the win, right? The 4 fantasy points. I think the bigger thing is you get off to those 5-0, 6-0 leads in the 4th, 5th inning, and that's when the other team brings in just shit relievers, right? And that's when you can really do some damage. And the Yankees have proven already this young season, we don't see it with every team, they will pile on runs late in the game when you put those relievers in. They're not slowing down. They're happy to win 10-2 or 11-3. And they don't really pull their guys unless it gets really out of hand either. So I'm with you. I think the Yankees got to be in consideration against Heaney and that Pittsburgh bullpen. So, yeah, for both of us, Yankees all the way around here looks like a good spot against your Pittsburgh Pirates, Brett. Chicago White Sox and Detroit Tigers up next. This one in Detroit. No surprise, going to be cold in Detroit, 40 degrees, 45 degrees in a pitcher's park anyway, with a pitcher's umpire as well. Going to be tough to score runs in this one, despite 2 mediocre pitchers going. We've got the veteran lefty Martin Perez going for the White Sox. Actually put up 33 fantasy points against the Twins back on the 31st.
I had none of them. I had none of them that slate too.
Yeah, I definitely didn't. I definitely haven't played Perez. I don't even remember that game. Not sure what happened there. And then Jackson Jobe, rookie for the Tigers, a talented arm who really hasn't put up many results to speak of, including his first start of the year, which he got about the best landing spot you can get, pitching in Seattle, and it still didn't work. 3 earned runs, 4 walks to 3 strikeouts. 79 pitches. Didn't look super good. I did watch that start. Came away thinking that Jobe's got potential, but he's nowhere real close to realizing it quite yet. Not playing either of these pitchers despite the weather. I mean, I want to play pitchers against the White Sox in general, but I don't know if I'm paying the $8,800 for Mr. Jobe to do it. What about you, Bryce? What are you doing with Jobe, Perez, and any interest in the offenses here?
No interest in the White Sox today. This Tigers offense is basically free. I kind of prefer them as like a 2-man stack or like a 3-man stack as like one-offs. Just to fit like expensive Yankees. I think is a reasonable build, but not super high on this game for offense. Don't want anything to do with Perez. I think Jobe, he's obviously overpriced here, but like I don't hate playing overpriced pitchers in tournaments. I'll probably get around 10% on Jobe, and that should be significantly over the field. I do prefer Christopher Sanchez as like a weird expensive pitcher to Jobe, but Jobe is another one that kind of falls into that bucket. So I'll probably have like double Sanchez what I have Jobe. It's kind of like how I'm thinking about playing these guys. I discussed the Tigers briefly. I think Justin Henry Malloy is a decent play. I think Margot is a decent play. Dylan Dingler, I think he's a decent play at catcher at 2.7. Like all these guys are free. Lets you literally do whatever you want in the rest of your lineup if you play like that small 3-man stack. So I'll likely be over on the Tigers in small stacks. I think it'll be kind of hard to get there as a 5-man today in this weather. But yeah.
Yeah. Joe A, what's wrong with playing Perez?
You can play Perez. I just have, people look at the game log, see like, oh, he nutted the first game. There's a lot of pitching options on the slate. I don't have him in my pool, but like if you wanted to play him, like, I don't know, say you're playing 20 teams. If you want to play him 10%, I have no issue with that. I would just rather, spend for Job here personally.
Yeah, Perez projected very, very low ownership. I'm seeing 1, 2, 3%, probably below 5 for Perez. Honestly, he's a fine play number wise at that number when you look at his projection and the super low ownership and the price. So I'm not going to play Perez, but if you're sold on Perez, you have a team that you like. I really don't have a problem with it at that ownership and price and projection. So not to play for us, but yeah, I don't think it's an issue. I wish the White Sox had any semblance of a decent offense, because I think Job might be a player to pick on right now. Just hasn't had the results even at the minor league level. But I don't think I play the White Sox in Detroit. I just don't think. I'll be surprised. Job will have to be really bad for the White Sox stack to end up on the winner. So I'm not going to get there. Not going to get to Job either. I'm with you. I think Sanchez, the play between the two, if we're kind of almost like spending up to get contrarian, right, at pitcher at that point. And I just, the difference in pitching effectiveness in general between the two, Job and Sanchez, I'm talking about, I just can't click Job over Sanchez. But I won't be surprised if Job has a good game against this horrible White Sox offense. I mean, in theory, all you got to do is, throw strikes, and they should do the rest along with the park. So we'll see what happens with the White Sox and Detroit. We'll keep it moving, though. Toronto and the Mets are up next. This one in New York. Again, a lot of these games have very similar weather. This one going to be, again, low 50s, winds blowing in New York. Pitchers Park anyway at Citi Field will play especially like that today. Two decent, but not super high upside pitchers here going. David Peterson for the Mets throwing from the left side. Bowden Francis for the Blue Jays throwing from the right side. Both guys looked pretty solid in their opening starts. But I don't think either guy is a pitcher to invest in today. I'm off both these pitchers in that low 8K range. So I guess that leaves the offenses, which I do think are in play here, despite suboptimal hitting conditions. Bryce, what do you see? Mets and Blue Jays.
I'm just kind of off this game in general. I don't really like either pitcher. Don't love the offenses. It's not like I'm like not intentionally not playing any of them, but I'm not making any of them as like 5-man stacks. So like if some of the hitters find their way into my teams, I'm fine with that. I just don't think either pitcher has enough upside to win you a lot on the slate, and I don't think the hitters do either. Obviously, Lindor, Soto, Polar Bear, these guys have a ton of upside. I prefer them as like one-offs as opposed to stacks, and you can say the same thing for the other side of the game. Probably prefer Bichette and Vlad the most. I don't really want anything to do with like these like platoon, like cheap Blue Jays on the road here in really tough hitting conditions. If you did want to play someone in this game, pitching wise, I would definitely prefer Peterson at a cheaper price to Francis. Or Peterson's A2, Francis A1. I would prefer Peterson to Francis. I don't think either are going to make my pool though.
I'm off these pitchers. What about the Mets offense? I mean, they haven't done a ton yet, but Lindor, Soto, Alonso, Nimmo, Winker's been hot. We don't love Francis as a pitcher. Any interest there? I mean, they're super expensive, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would prefer the Mets. I think they're going to come in more as like small stacks and one-offs as opposed to full 5-mans for me. But yeah, definitely prefer the top of the order. And, I don't think anyone's going to play these guys.
Yeah, me neither. Frankly, I probably won't either on my three teams, but it would be the Mets offense that I think makes more sense. And then the Blue Jays offense, the top of it, right? If you want to play Bichette, Vlad, Santander, and Jimenez, I mean, yeah, I think you nailed it. I'm not going to, even though they're cheap, the Kirk, Clement, Schneider, Heineman, Straw. I don't see those guys doing a ton of damage, even if they're able to collect a few hits. So it'd be the top, really, of both these lineups that has the upside. But again, clearly not ideal conditions in New York for offensive scoring. So we're both a little tepid there, and obviously a little bit of theme in the show. We're not super excited about any of these offenses. It's just the nature of the slate. It is what it is here. We go to Target Field next in Minneapolis for, frankly, at least on this park, not a bad place to hit. Going to be 50 degrees in Minnesota, which will actually probably feel okay relative to what the normal temperature is in Minneapolis this time of year. We've got Chris Paddock going for the Twins. He was dreadful on Monday. I know I played him against the White Sox. A lot of people did. He was super, super popular, got absolutely shelled. 3 home runs, 9 earned runs, 4 walks, negative 12.5 for Paddock. So sitting there with a 24.3 ERA here after one start. He's got a little bit of a hole to dig out of for his stats, does Mr. Paddock. Gets this Astros team, which, man, they've done almost nothing. Alvarez has done nothing all year. Walker hasn't done much. Altuve's been okay, but he's like the only one in this offense doing much with the stick. I mean, again, you don't love the park and hitting conditions here, but they're average or above average for this slate. So I think the Astros are growing on me a little bit against Mr. Paddock here, who maybe he'll bounce back, but you go negative 12 against the White Sox, and I got to have some interest against the stack facing you next time out. So I do like the Astros a little bit. And then Ronel Blanco. I still don't necessarily believe in this guy, but he did throw 92 pitches, did look good last year, 6 strikeouts against the Giants, and he gets this Twins team. I know they got to Arrighetti and woke up a little bit yesterday, but I look at this Twins lineup, and this is a team to pick on for me. I just don't see a lot of, dynamic hitters. They're not going to do anything on the base paths. They're a station-to-station team, and they're just a team that they're not going to blow up your pitcher very often. I know Arrighetti did blow up a little bit yesterday, but I think Blanco could bounce back here. I think he's interesting at 8,600, and I'm kind of off this Twins offense until further notice, including today. So I'm not going to the Twins bats here. Astros growing on me a little bit, specifically the top of the lineup. I know Alvarez has struggled, but I'll still go back there on this particular slate. What about you, Bryce? What are you doing? Twins and Astros.
I have some interest in hitting in this game. The total's 8.5. It's not that bad. I mean, for this slate, it's pretty good.
Right.
You have to choose bats somewhere. I definitely prefer the Astros side here, picking on Paddock as opposed to picking on Blanco. I will have some twin stacks, not tons. I think I have them penciled in as like a 5% stack for me. But they'll make their way into some minis as well. They do have a couple bats with upside here, and they're not overly expensive. Like Buxton's only 4.6K. They're not doing quite as much platooning this year with some of these lefties. Last year was just so annoying. It was just auto sub every single time. And this year's not quite as bad, but
not yet.
It's not, it's not yet. I mean, it's not my favorite spot. I'd rather play the Astros. I have them penciled in like significantly higher. I do think this Astros team still has some upside. Like Altuve, Paredes, Jordan has been awful, but it's still early.
Well, Walker
Pena have been really good. Yainer, I always think has a decent amount of upside at catcher. I've kind of talked myself into more Houston stacks, just kind of looking at the slate and who else you can play. I think Houston will be one of my highest owned stacks here, actually. I have them just below like Arizona on my list right now. So I'll have a decent amount of Houston. No Paddock. Blanco is in play for me. Probably like a 15% type of pitcher. Don't love him, don't hate him, but it's not like the most elite pitching slate of all time or anything as to where I would get off him. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for me in this game.
Yeah, makes sense. Blanco projected pretty well relative to the slate, so I do like him a little bit. Ownership wise, yeah, he's coming in 15, 20% owned, something like that. Favorite stacks, we'll do that at the end of the show. Yeezy, appreciate you watching every day. We'll do home runs, pitching, go back over pitching, all that stuff once we get through all 10 games here. But that's Twins and Astros. And yeah, I think I might be going to the Astros here. At least on one of my three teams. He makes some sense, or they make some sense. So especially that 1 through 5, I think could do some damage. Pretty good hitters there, even if they haven't done a lot so far on the young season. And yeah, playing 150 makes sense to get to the Twins, but playing just a few lineups, feel okay going a different direction than the Minnesota Twins today. Baltimore and Kansas City up next. We got two lefties going here. Baltimore will go with Cade Povich, who looked pretty good against Boston. 8 strikeouts over 430 to give up 3 earned runs, but the strikeouts have been a little bit of a problem for him at the big league level. It was good to see him get some Ks. And then Chris Bubic, who I do think is an underrated pitcher. Talked about that before his last start. He certainly delivered against the Brewers. 6 scoreless, 8 strikeouts, put up 30 DraftKings points. That was on that Martin Perez slate. I know he helped our guy AP get second in the flagship for a nice 10K score. So Bubic already has got the job done at least once. Could certainly do it here, but a tougher spot for Bubic against Baltimore, who did get Gunnar Henderson back this weekend. He's in the lineup leading off. Obviously a pretty good lineup overall for Baltimore, but not a lineup that is completely infallible and a pitcher couldn't do well against. Kansas City weather, again, 50 degrees, some winds blowing in. Going to play like a pitcher's park, no question about it today. So yeah, Bubic, Povich, 2 youngish lefties. What are you doing here, Bryce? We got Royals, Orioles, Bubic, and Povich.
I mean, I'm super high on Bubic here, or Bubic. If these strikeouts stay where they're at, because he was a huge strikeout guy in the pen, if they stay where they're at and then did the first game, he's a super high upside pitcher. It's a really good pitching environment. He's likely one of my bigger buys, pitching wise. It is a dangerous Orioles offense, but I think a lot of that is mitigated here with the park. It's cold, winds blowing in. Coffin Field will play so small when it's like this. It needs to be like 100 degrees outside for it to really play as a hitter's park. So I'm likely off offenses here in general. Much prefer Bubic to Povich just because of strikeout upside. The Royals can be kind of like a pesky team. Not that the Orioles aren't, but I think the strikeout upside is way higher for Bubic. I can just kind of skip over offenses here. Not eliminating them from my pool, but I will not be playing any 5-mans here. I don't have them. I click them off in stacks in Saber. So, we're kind of struggling to find offenses here, but we found some for you. And then I think we have a couple more games to go to for the hitters, but I think this is another game where I prefer pitchers. Povich does not make my pool today. Personally, I would rather just play extra Bubic. I kind of want him to be one of my bigger buys of the day.
I agree with pretty much everything you said there. Not getting to Povich, Bubic certainly in play. I will say if you not necessarily a stack with the Orioles, but Tyler O'Neill hitting cleanup at 4,600, got big power, specifically against lefties. I think he's an excellent one-off. Adley Rutschman, I still think, despite not a perfect matchup or weather, is a solid catcher to go to. So I think you can play some Orioles. I just wouldn't go crazy with it. O'Neill, clearly the guy. I think one of the better, frankly, one-offs on the slate. And then the Royals side, I have more interest there against the young Povich, India, Witt, Perez. Pasquantino, throw them in there if you want left versus left. I think they make some sense. The Royals, top of the lineup. But again, just going to be tough to hit home runs here, which is obviously kind of what you're chasing with one-offs anyway. So even those guys are not that appealing, but on this slate, I think they did at least deserve a mention. Offenses, Bryce. We got to a game where I like both offenses, which I think makes about 2 offenses that I like total on this slate with 3 games to go here. But Cincinnati and Milwaukee, I think we're going to see runs in this one. We've got an extreme hitter, extreme hitter umpire, Derek Thomas behind the plate, which will only help matters. We got 2 mediocre at best right-handed pitchers, Chad Patrick and Carson Spears. And then a Reds bullpen behind Spears that's really bad. A Brewers pen that's kind of worn out, frankly, right now. And, 2 decent offenses going here. At least 2 offenses with high upside players. Obviously, the Reds led by Elly De La Cruz. I think one of the overall top plays on this slate, regardless of price or position. The rest of the lineup's super cheap, so you can easily stack around Elly if you want to, or just play Elly by himself. That works too. But I'm in on the Reds here against Patrick and the Brewers. This game indoors, so compared to the rest of the parks on this slate, should play hitter friendly. And then Carson Spears, mediocre righty, going for the Reds. The Brewers offense has been quiet so far, but I think they could be in for a big game here. Love the lefties, Turang, Yelich. Churio hasn't done much, but I'm still willing to pay that price tag for him on this slate. You got a cheap cleanup hitter in Garrett Mitchell, who's got a little power and speed. And you got a bunch of cheap guys at the bottom of the lineup for the Brewers too, really for both these teams that you can go to if you want to fill out a 5-man stack. So I think we're going to see runs in this one. This game went crazy offensively yesterday. A good home run park. And this is by far, Bryce, my favorite game for offense on this slate. What are you doing with Brewers and Reds here?
Yeah, I'm crossing out pitchers and playing bats here for sure. Kind of as it's been a struggle to find some bats here. Brewers fall just behind the Yankees for me. Kind of them and like the Diamondbacks, I guess, would be like my second and third favorite stacks, and then the Reds are up there for me as well. You would 5-man them. I think a lot of these guys have a ton of upside. Like obviously Elly does for the Reds, and then the rest of the team is super cheap, like across the board. So I'm in on them. Brewers, some of my favorite plays of the slate. I think they should be able to run here. So I'm definitely in on them. I like them as 5-mans. Guys that stand out to me, kind of the top 3. I do think that some of these Brewers lefties do carry a little bit of pinch hit risk here, but I don't really worry about that in 5-mans too much. I'm likely going to be heavily over on hitters just across the board in this game.
Yeah, watching the game yesterday, there were some mammoth home runs hit. So the ball flying in Milwaukee, I think we could see that again today. I do think we're going to get several home runs in this game, and hopefully we'll be on the right ones, kind of the stars here. The Cruz, Turang, and Yelich, my 3 favorite. And keep an eye on Turang early on this season. He looks like he's very, very improved. A couple home runs already. The bat speed is way up, hitting for some power, and we know he can steal bases as well. So Turang, one of my favorite players on the slate, along with Mr. Yelich and Elly De La Cruz, all coming from this game. Should be a good one. At least we hope so, for offense in Milwaukee at American Family Field. 2 more games to talk about. We go to Wrigley Field, one of the more hitter-friendly umpires, Mark Wegner, behind the plate. They'll need, these offenses will, good umpire to score some runs. It's going to be mid-40s and winds blowing in at Wrigley Field. Ballpark Pals got this rated as the worst hitting environment on a slate with a lot of bad hitting environments. So going to be tough to score runs here. Ben Brown going for the Cubs. Talented young pitcher. Looked pretty good against the A's last time out, 5 strikeouts. He actually pitched against the Dodgers in Tokyo as well. Looked okay there too, 5 Ks over 2 2/3. So decent start to the season for Ben Brown. He has given up runs, but strikeouts have been there. I don't think I can play him against this contact-heavy Padres team, even in Wrigley Field at 7,300. I'm probably off Ben Brown, but I'm definitely not on the Padres here. And then Kyle Hart, not Kevin Hart, Kyle Hart, lefty for the Padres. Actually a pretty low strikeout matchup for him, too. A lot of contact bats in that Cubs lineup. So this is a game, Bryce, where I'm mostly crossing this one off. I don't really see playing either pitcher, but it's hard to like the offenses in these weather conditions. I think if you played either offense, you kind of got to go to the full stack, right? And you're hoping they can string together some hits, score some runs that way, because home runs going to be very hard to come by in Wrigley Field today. What are you doing, Bryce, with Cubs and Padres here?
I could see playing some Cubs just because, the weather's so bad across the board. It's not a team I want to go super heavy on, but I'm off the Padres here. I'm a pretty big Ben Brown believer in general. I think he's a safer play as opposed to like an upside play, just because the Padres are really tough to come by for strikeouts. But I do expect a good outing from Brown here. And he'll make my pool probably 10 to 15%. Cubs will make my pool around, maybe 5% at the max. I'm off the Padres here in general. Just once again, really crappy hitting weather. I would rather just play extra, like Milwaukee or Yankees bats personally. So, yeah, kind of an ugly game here. I could see playing Ben Brown, and that's about it. I'm not gonna remove like the high upside bats like Tatis, etc. From my teams, but I won't be playing any of these teams in stacks. Actually, I might play a small amount of Cubs stacks here. I just think this Cubs lineup has a decent amount of upside relative to their prices here, and they've been so good to me this season. I feel kind of obligated to on a slate where I'm actively looking for teams to play.
Yeah, makes sense. Kyle Hart, certainly not a pitcher you need to avoid, so I don't mind that call with the Cubs. I do think they're the better offense to go with in the Cubs-Padres game. Last game on the slate, we'll do pitching, stacks, home runs after that, but Tampa Bay and the Rangers. Again, not a park that we specifically look to often for hitting, but on this slate, indoors is good. And they will play, and of course, at Rangers Stadium in Arlington, Globe Life Field. Kumar Rocker going for the Texas Rangers. Kind of a high upside arm in general, but another one, a little bit like Jackson Jobe, who does not appear to be ready to perform at the big league level quite yet. Straight fastball, overly reliant on it. Secondary stuff can be questionable for Rocker. Got knocked around in Cincinnati in that first start. 600 runs over 3 innings, 2 home runs allowed, 7 hits. It's a Rays lineup that I don't love, but I'm willing to take a shot on them against Mr. Rocker, who hasn't proven anything at the big league level quite yet, other than he's probably not quite ready. And then Drew Rasmussen going for Tampa. He looked good, I thought, in that first start against Pittsburgh. 5 innings, 4 strikeouts, no walks, just a couple hits. I don't think he's going to go much longer than 5 innings, so I don't love him as a play at 8,500. But I do think he'll be effective. But nevertheless, this Rangers lineup has done some damage early. They've got a bunch of good hitters at the top of the lineup. And to me, both of these lineups are in play, Rangers and Rays. More interested in the hitting here than the pitching. What about you, Bryce? What are you doing with this one?
Don't really have interest in either pitcher. If Kumar Rocker beats me, he beats me. I kind of agree. I don't think he's ready yet. We've been looking for bats all day. I don't think this is a bad game to be over. I'm likely going to be over both lineups here. Rasmussen is a decent pitcher. I would probably prefer the Rays side. I just don't love the Rays upside as a whole. I think you can run on Rocker, and I think they might try to. So I think that's where their upside would come, as opposed to like a lot of home runs. But This is a game I normally wouldn't be super excited in, and I'm like mildly excited for it just because of the slate.
Yeah.
I'll probably be 10% stacks on each side, maybe a little bit higher on Tampa Bay than Texas here, but I will have some Texas stacks. They're not like super expensive, and like each individual bat here has upside. Like Semien, Seager, Langford, Jock, Adolis, like those guys all have a ton of upside. So I would probably prefer them as like 3-mans as to 5-mans, but I'll still have some 5-man Texas here.
B-Nair bringing us good news. We get Patrick Corbin pitching for, I don't even know what team he's on, but
I didn't realize he was still in baseball.
Yeah, I don't think he was. I think
shouldn't
someone
be.
got hurt, and he's making
Okay.
comeback or something. But
Well, I'm definitely playing tomorrow.
Yeah,
I haven't taken off a day yet. I'm definitely not taking off tomorrow.
We didn't know what team he's playing for or who he's facing, but
Rangers.
we'll be on the other side of Mr. Corbin, that's for sure. Joe asking about the A's and Rockies game in Coors Field. It is on the FanDuel slate, and given the other offensive options, stack options, I haven't looked that closely at it, but I think I'm in on Coors Field today. It is warming up here finally in Denver, so I think I'm in on Coors Field over on FanDuel. Can certainly afford those bats if you want to get them in there. But yeah, that's all the games on the DK slate at least. Let's move to we'll do pitching stacks quick and then home runs. Your favorite two pitchers, your favorite pairing on DraftKings today, Bryce. What are you doing at starting pitcher?
So I'm going to give you two pairings because I'm kind of a pussy. Glasnow Burns is like I think like by far the safest, and there's plenty of cheap bats to fit that. If you want to get Megamind, I would go Glasnow and then either Bubic or Will Warren if you want more money for bats. We
are pretty aligned at pitcher today. Love Will Warren. I think he is the top point per dollar option, honestly, on the entire slate. Like the Bubic call, like the top end guys, Glasnow and Burns, and then the guy I'll throw into the mix is Mr. Christopher Sanchez. I know he gets the Dodgers, but just a huge believer in Sanchez, and we should get him maybe at some of the lowest ownership. We get him all year here, so I'll be in on a little bit of Christopher Sanchez as well. Bryce, give me your top. I'm going to just ask for two. It's a tough slate to come up with three stacks that you love. Give me your top two stacks today.
Yankees, Milwaukee, if you need a cheap stack to fill in Detroit.
I'm going for the game stack today. Don't often do that, but Cincinnati, Milwaukee in the Dome. I think we see some home runs in that one. Two mediocre pitchers, Reds and Brewers, my top two stacks. And might not be a lot of home runs today, but give us one, Bryce. Who's going yard?
I feel Aaron Judge is like the easy one, so I'm going to go with with my boy Paul Goldschmidt.
Yeah, you can't pick the guy who's going to hit 70 home runs this year. So
yeah, it's like illegal to do that. But yes, I want to be well over Judge to that. I just want that out there in the world.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Love Judge as well. I'll go a little bit different route and go with Mr. Christian Yelich, 5K.
I love the Yelich play today. I absolutely love him. I think he's one of the best plays on the board.
100% agree on Yelich. Like Touraine there too on that Milwaukee stack, which I do like quite a bit. All right, that'll do it for this show. We got 40 minutes to make our own lineups. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hit the like button on the way out if you haven't yet done so. And, of course, join us over at Run Pure Sports. Use promo code RPS15. Get you 15% off all the sports. Big time of the year, NBA playoffs, baseball, Masters, everything you need over at runpuresports.com. And that'll do it for this show. We'll be back tomorrow at the normal time for Third and Schlong. I am DC, and as soon as I find the outro, we're out of here.